right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Gregory, and I'll be your host for today. We are past the halfway mark of November. It's already been a really, really busy month. We kick things off with our Call to Earth special event in partnership with CNN and their Call to Earth Day. We hosted a whole Call to Earth week to start November, connecting with scientists, explorers, adventurers, and conservationists on the front lines of our changing planet. So if you want to go back in time, you can catch those recordings on our YouTube channel. This month, we also have a theme going, a really cool one for the first time. Can you dig it? We're looking at our Earth's past and talking about archaeology and paleontology and geology. So we've already had a really cool series of events, and we still have several more to come before the month ends. You can find all of those at exploringbytheseat.com, either on the lesson page or there's a specific event page you can check out as well with all those events coming up before the end of the month. Today, we have a pretty cool event coming up. We are heading out into the field. That is one of our favorite things to do. And we can go live into the field and show students, scientists, explorers, conservationists working in the field right on the front lines of our changing planet. That is by far our favorite live event to do. So over the past few years, we've been able to connect with Dr. Bob Gregory a few times from the field. We usually try to catch up once each school year. So Bob is a research scientist in the Environmental Sciences Division of Fisheries and Oceans Canada in St. John's, Newfoundland. He's an adjunct professor at Memorial University in Newfoundland, and he's really interested in things like research into fish nursery habitats. He's been doing it for over 40 years now. And so right now he's out in the field. He's out there with his team. He's braving the cold, although it looks like they've got a little bit of sun. So hopefully it's warming them up a little bit. And they are looking at biodiversity. They're capturing what they can from the shore and then looking to see how the young fish are surviving and other things like that. So I am going to reach backstage and let's bring in our field site. There we go. Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, Bob.
Ready? All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Good to go, Bob.
Okay.
All right. Good to go. Go ahead.
All right. Excellent. Welcome to Newman Sound, Newfoundland, Canada, everybody. We're very late in our season here. We start doing the work that we do here in June, and we continue it through until 2 weeks from now. So you're very late in our season. It's 5 degrees here today, Celsius, so hence we're all bundled up in our various gear and trying to stay warm. But just to introduce you to what we do in Newman Sound, Newfoundland, we're trying to sample juvenile fish, mainly Atlantic cod, but also a number of other species part of the fish community, and how these animals fit into the ecosystem. So we're going to do a beach seine here, but before we do that, I'm going to introduce you to our various people that are involved. Our videographer is Marina Montevecchi. You won't see her, unfortunately, very much. She'll be busy doing the camera. But out in the boat, we have driving the boat is Courtney King. Hi, Courtney. And Brittany Keogh, who will be deploying our seine from the boat. You see, I'm holding on to one end of the seine here now. They're about 55 meters away from shore, and they're going to deploy the net. And what I'll do is describe what we're doing here and how important it is as they're deploying the net. So they're now doing that. What we do, this is our 30th year in Newman Sound, so we've had a lot of practice doing this. We're out 12 times a year, about approximately 2 weeks apart, and we're sampling for small fish. Now, we're talking about fish this big. We're talking about fish really small, And these that we refer to as age 0 fish. This is their first year of life. And we're sampling for those. So we get an idea of how many of those there are. We get an idea of how many bigger fish there are. Now, the reason why they're here is because it's a shallow environment, very protected. And even despite the waves we're seeing today, this is actually a lot smoother than it is out in the deeper water. So fish come in here and they're eating stuff, they're eating food, and they're growing up. So a fish that starts out the season this big will basically be this big by the end of the summer. So we're into the fall when these fish are getting ready to leave the shore because it's getting too cold. But we're hoping to catch a few fish here and show you what sort of fish species we have. So you can see our seine net coming in now, and we'll guide you through that. Now the bead seine is deployed about 55 meters offshore, and we pull it in such a way that the fish get corralled into the net. So they're not actually caught until the net comes onto the beach. So we have to keep the net moving once they start along. Brittany is going to take over this end of the bead seine for me, and then we will describe that a little bit more detail. There we go, Brittany. Thank you. Okay. So we'll have a look at what other things are going on. Now, before the show started, I managed to snag a couple of key parts of the ecosystem here. This is ascophyllum algae, and you can see what sort of makeup it is. It's basically hangs up in the water column like that and spreads out and washes around in the water. Another species, it's another fucoid algae. It's basically brown. So these are actually both brown algae, as it turns out. But basically, they float up in the water. This is great fish habitat. So fish come into here in the environment. You can see some of it all washed up here, but there's a lot of it out there. But part of the reason why these fish are here is because of eelgrass habitat. Eelgrass is very important. It's almost the same as the grass on your lawn. And you can see roots, you can see stems, you can see blades of eelgrass. Fish hide in this stuff. This stuff is extremely dense in the shallow water, and basically fish hide in it. And what are they hiding from is the key question. We hope to catch a few of what they're hiding from when we pull the seine in. So seine is almost in now. Yeah, we'll let them do their job. But basically, yep. Yeah, so we will. They're pulling the seine in right now. All the fish have been pulled in. I remember when I mentioned the fish don't get caught until they actually get pulled into the beach. Okay, first seine home. Yeah, so a little hectic here because we've got a little bit of wind going on. And they're pulling the seine in, and any fish that were inside an area of about 880 square meters have now been pulled into this net. That's what we're hoping to see. Anything big will be too big; it'll swim away. But some of the smaller fish will be caught in our net, and we will see what those are. Again, consistent with the show, exploring by the seat of your pants, we don't know what we're going to get. So we will see what's happening when we get the thing into the net, into the bucket, and describe what's going on here. We've been doing this for 30 years. The fish that we catch here are used in fish stock assessments for improving the predictability of how many fish are in the ocean, and how productive Newman Sound is. The other advantage of doing the work that we do here is we are inside a national park, Terra Nova National Park. Basically, they're, of course, very interested in ecological integrity and things like that. So we'll go over there as soon as the field team has actually got the fish in the net, or in the buckets. We'll actually go over and see what's happening in the sample. But as I said before, I don't know what's in that bucket yet. So bear with me as we have a look. Okay, they're cleaning a bunch of things out of the net, and we'll now go over to the net. Are we ready? Say yes. Are we good? Okay. Well, let's go over and have a look. So we got a winter flounder here, and he's about probably about 8 centimeters long. These small fish that you see here, those are actually Atlantic cod. Now, what's very interesting about Atlantic cod, these are both the same age. Those are all the same age. These are this year's young. So a codfish grows to, it can grow to 2 meters long. So you're way out here and weigh about 50 kilograms, or 100 pounds, basically, if they grow to their full age. So these are little guys, and we also have a rock crab in here, and we also have some small mysid shrimp. These are actually food for some of the other fish. We've got a bigger one. There's a mud shrimp right there. See, basically, if you're a big fish, you'll be able to grab him. Other than that, what the smaller fish are eating are small little prey animals, and everything is good. Yeah. Now, this you may think this crab isn't moving very fast, and that's because he's cold. These are cold-blooded animals, and they respond by heating up in the sun or whatever. They're also coming into shore to basically be in warmer water so that they will be able to heat up. So I'm not hurting this crab at all. He's just sort of flailing around and he doesn't know what's happening. But basically, this is about a 2-year-old crab that we have here. We have in our work today, we've caught small ones that are about 1 centimeter across. So he's about 2. He's trying to grab me now. So he's about 2 centimeters across. So he's about a 2-year-old. I'll put him back. Everything. Earlier today, we actually caught squid as well, which are, when they get big, they're predators. These squid will grow about this big with their tentacles. But we caught small ones who are about this big. So these small fish are actually chasing them around. So you have a very, in the marine environment, you have a very complicated environment where one year a prey item like a squid will be prey for something else, and then it actually 3 years later it'll start eating that thing. So it's a very complicated sort of life history. So what we do here is that's a cunner. This is an interesting species because this fish is not where he should be. This is actually the most northern range of cunner, which are a race species, WRASSE, which is tropical. So these are related to tautog on the eastern Atlantic, which we don't get here, but we do get their cousins, which are the cunners. That's basically what we're getting here. This is lots of prey species, a lot of mysid shrimp, and they're prey for bigger fish. We were hoping to get a couple of predators here, but I think we may have scared them away from before. The predators of these Atlantic cod that we're finding here. If I can get one out. Yes, grab him. Open him up. There we go. Okay. So this is this small Atlantic cod. We won't leave them out of the water very long because they don't like that. A predator of this guy would be somewhere around maybe this long out to the end of my fingers and to my thumb. Anything about 2 times longer than him is a predator of this one. So we'll lift him back. But that's the sort of thing that we do. We count and measure all of these fish, and they go into they're used for determining the status of inshore populations and community stability and that sort of thing for the coast of Newfoundland, and that's how they are used. Again, we've been doing this for a long time, so these data become more important as the amount of time spread as it gets longer, because then you can gauge things like climate change. You can say that what the climate is doing to these animals when you get a warm year and a cold year, or you have a whole string of warm years together. This particular year was very warm, but some of the coastal dynamics actually made the ocean water come up and cool it down here. So it's the temperature was almost the Goldilocks effect. They don't like it too hot and they don't like it too cold. They like it just right. And that's what we see about the fish that we have here. So what we will do now is, now that we've processed these fish and we have finished with them, we will get them back to the water as soon as we can, because we don't want to keep them away from home very long. They don't like that much. These fish, some of them even have territories. Cod don't, but they wander around this whole area. But basically, they don't want to stay out of home very long. So we're all done with this, right? Yeah, and we will go from there. So the field team will end up restacking the net and putting that away, and releasing the fish that we caught. Anyway, so that's basically what we do here. We basically sample these particular sites over 12 times a year, and again 30 years of thousands of beach seines like the one you just saw. that we base our studies on, we will go from there. All right. If there are any questions, I'd love to hear them.
All right. Excellent, Bob. Well, thank you to you and the team for giving us that demonstration. That was really cool. We are going to get into some questions now. So if you are tuning in via YouTube, don't be shy. Use that chat sidebar to send us in some questions. And Bob, the first question that I have is that sample that we just saw, is that a typical amount of fish to catch, or do you sometimes have larger samples? What's the average look like when you pull that net in?
So he was asking whether this sample you just had was a typical sample that you normally get, or do you normally get more or less?
We normally, we actually sampled this site this morning, and we got a lot more fish this morning. So there's an awful lot of variance in what we see. So this one is actually a bit low. But even with that, this is a time of year where the fish are leaving the nearshore environment, which we're in, and they're going to deeper water. As I mentioned, the temperatures here right now are about 5 degrees centigrade. Much lower than that, there's a big danger that the fish will actually contact ice crystals in the water, and that will kill them. So they basically start moving very soon from now. They start moving away from the shore, and some of them have already done that. And that's why we're seeing lower fish numbers today than we would have seen in other times. But sometimes it's just the luck of the draw. They're not in the environment that we're sampling in, and they spread out. And sometimes we're lucky, sometimes we're not. That's why we sample these fish so much.
And Bob, on a good day in the field, how many times will you take a sample? How many times will you deploy and collect from the net?
On a good day in the field, how many times will you deploy and collect from the net?
On a good day, depending on how you measure it, and a good day, we will do the average day. Let's say we will do somewhere around 8 sites a day, and we have 12 that we regularly monitor. So that means we're out in the field probably 2 days. In the peak of the summer, when we're getting hundreds and sometimes thousands of fish, we will actually be, it'll take us 3 days to do what we're doing now. So it very much depends on the time of year, how many fish we have. When we have more fish in the summer and up to as late as even September, we will sometimes be sampling. We'll have to use a procedure called subsampling to actually measure everything because there's so many. And the water temperatures are warm, so the fish are actually less tolerant of us handling them. So we have to get them back to the water as soon as possible. But we have caught seine hauls in the order of 8,000 fish, depending on the time of year and how big they are. And so I hope that answers the question. We're in a low period of time here at this time of year, but the fish that you saw, the Atlantic cod you saw, they are the survivors. They are the ones after there's been a lot of predation going on through the summer. These are the ones that are going to make it through to May when they'll be 1 year old, and then their predation rate, the amount of opportunity for them to be eaten is dropping a lot. So they spend a lot of their time here hiding out until they get to that size where they're a little safer. So the ocean is a very dangerous place if you're a small fish. And we've always got to keep an eye on that.
Okay. Bob, by next spring, how much larger will those little cod be?
By next summer, how much larger will those little cod be?
Good question. And I'm going to give a vague answer. So they'll start out, the ones we saw today are about so big. By next summer, or actually by about a year from now, they'll be about this big. So they grow, the cod do, they grow about 10 centimeters a year. So 2.5, 3 inches, 4 inches a year is what they will grow. So they're about this big at the end, and then they progressively get bigger and bigger. They never stop until they grow old. Now the interesting part, I'm going to take a little aside here. The individual that grows out to this big, if it's a female, will lay 50 million eggs. So these fish can actually multiply quite quickly if they're given the chance to do that. Now, a typical one is probably about this big, longer than my arm, for example. That fish will lay probably about 5 million eggs. But they are very prolific, and partly they are that way because they're being eaten at a very high rate. And the value of the habitat in shallow water is very important for them for that reason. They're hiding, and they're hiding sometimes from their own brothers and sisters who may be a year or two older than them.
All right. I've got a question here about, so we saw the cod, we saw the little flounder. What are they eating out in the shallows? What are they after?
Okay, there's a question. They saw the little cod and the little flounder, and they're wondering what they're eating out in the shallows.
Yeah. The small cod at that size are eating zooplankton for the most part. Sometimes they're eating animals that are on the bottom as well. These are all, they eat animals, they don't eat plants. So the flounder are doing the same thing. They're eating small crustaceans, small crabs, small shrimp, and a variety of small invertebrate sort of species. These would be little worms and that sort of thing. So they're basically at that size. They're actually eating the same things. Some of the fish are eating. They're eating prey. They're eating food off of the eelgrass plants. They're not eating the eelgrass themselves. They're using that for cover. But what they are eating is the zooplankton and invertebrate animals that are actually living on eelgrass, and that's what they actually eat. So the prey will be the prey of the food of the Atlantic cod, for example, will be very small crustaceans, probably just as big as their mouth, and that's as far as they'll eat. When they get a little bigger, they'll be eating those mice when they can catch them. Basically, fish, especially animals like cod and winter flounder, they one catch and two fit in their mouth. And that's as simple as it is. Eddie, quickly.
Okay. I've got a couple more questions here in the chat from students. Jad wants to know, what is kind of the rarest or like the most unexpected fish that you've caught using those nets?
What is the rarest or most kind of unexpected fish that you've caught using those nets?
We were actually talking about that before the call. The most unexpected animal I ever saw, we saw this morning, which was the small little squid that we saw. And these squid were a squid this big, and they're actually attacking our fish. But these squid here are actually food for our fish if they're like that big, if they'd be about 1 or 2 years old. Basically, but we have never seen those. In 30 years, we have never seen those fish until this morning. That's the one that ranks the highest right now, because we've just never seen it before. We've seen the older ones, the bigger ones, but never the small little baby ones that are basically less than a year.
All right, very cool. Well,
which is
Angela,
pretty cool. So they're trying to be protected in the eelgrass habitats as well.
All right. Well, that's a pretty cool catch. And to have it happen today, that's pretty cool. Angela has a similar question, but Angela's curious about the size of fish. So what's the biggest fish that you remember catching in one of the samples?
Angela is wondering, what's the biggest fish you've ever caught in one of the samples?
Biggest fish. I'm going to have to show you that. Just a second. Hold there. Here's our measuring board. The measuring board is actually fairly small because most of the fish we're measuring are maybe this big and smaller. The biggest fish we've ever caught in our beach seine started here and went to there. So we can catch bigger fish. These are not the biggest ones that are in the environment. The biggest fish we've ever seen out here was a tuna, a bluefin tuna that was basically 6 feet long and jumped 6 feet out of the water, came down splashing on a school of herring or something else, and was basically trying to stun them so we could eat them. But that was a pretty impressive sight. We've only ever seen that once as well. The other one, of course, isn't a fish. We've seen a variety of whales in here, minke whales, humpbacks, and killer whales. We've actually seen a killer whale in here too. So there's a lot of diversity that we experience here in Newman Sound.
All right. So Adam would like to know more about the boat you're using. Can you tell us a little bit about the boat?
Adam is wondering about the boat we're using.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about the boat?
The boat, it's an aluminum boat. We really like it. We asked the local company that manufactures boats to actually build this boat for us. So it's designed to do beach seining. It has a very low platform in it, so we can stack the seine up and make it very easy to deploy. We can crawl in, out and over it without too much trouble. We haven't lost anybody overboard yet in 30 years. But the idea is to allow us to deploy our gear and do our sampling the way we want. The other thing about our boat that we really like is we can weld it. So we can actually attach things to it if we needed to, or repair holes in it. Not that we've had any holes yet, but so we like this so much. This is our second boat like it, and the other one is actually up at the place we stay in when we're in Terra Nova National Park.
All right.
Hope that answers to your question.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Bob, when you and your team are out collecting fish, you're not going to catch all of the fish in a season, so you can't count every single fish. How do you use what you've sampled to then make estimates about population size and things like that?
So obviously when you do your samples, you're not catching every fish in the sea. So how do you use your samples to estimate population sizes of fish?
That's an extremely good question. We clearly don't sample everything in the sea. What we actually are targeting are these small juvenile fish, which are trying to escape the bigger ones. So they come into shallow water. We sample those. But what we do is we actually correlate. If you're familiar with that term, we correlate the numbers we get with offshore fish assessments, which are sampling fish this big. And we know that the fish that we get here are actually correlated with the numbers of those by about 80% of the time. We get it right almost all the time, which means that the fish that are coming into here are actually moving offshore and doing things when they grow up. And that's what we do. But no, we don't sample the whole coast. What we do is we sample a part of it, which is in an indicator area for the broader coastline. And we're very careful of that. And we're constantly trying to improve our estimates to do that.
All right. What are you seeing? Obviously, temperatures are changing, seasons are changing. So this person here is wondering, are you seeing any fish that would normally be further south starting to move further north to the areas where you are?
Good question. So obviously temperatures are changing, seasons are changing. Are you starting to see any fish that should normally be further south in your samples?
Yes, we have seen that. We've done a number of studies over the last 30 years since we got started here. Basically looking at warming conditions and temperatures in the summer. We've been looking at peak temperatures in the summer, how fast it cools in the fall, and that sort of thing. Warm water, cold water makes a huge difference on the amount of fish that you see. And we have seen warm water fish moving in from time to time. You'll see them show up, and it changes the diversity of the fish in the coastal shallow water zone. We tend to see most of our fish, oddly enough, when it's warmer, not when it's colder. But the fish that we actually spend most of our time studying like it colder. So cod like it colder, but they don't like it too cold. It's this Goldilocks idea of too hot, too cold, but they like it just right. Every fish species has this area, this temperature that they want to see and want to live in. So depending on the species that they are, they will like it a little warmer or a little colder than we have here. The other thing that gets affected by water temperature is how long the winter is. And that's very important for us in Newfoundland. Winter here is almost ready to start. We're down around 4 degrees water temperature now. We will get into 0 degrees water temperature probably by Christmas. And then it can be 4 months long where it's below 0 and the fish are actually just hanging out. They're actually not eating much and that sort of thing. And then they're just set to grow like crazy when it hits about May and they start growing again. But when that happens, determines how fast and how big a fish will get during the year where it's actually warmer or colder. Colder, they grow slower. Warmer, they grow faster and bigger. And we've seen both things happen here.
Okay, Bob, I have 2 more questions for you. The first one is about cod in general. So there was a time when there was a huge fishing industry for cod, but they were overfished, their populations collapsed. What's happening now? Are we seeing a rise in cod population? Is it slow? Is it fast? What's happening with our cod?
Wondering about the cod populations, because there used to be a big fishery for the cod. So wondering if you're sort of starting to see a comeback of cod or what the trend is looking like.
That's when you live in Newfoundland, that's a very important question. For those of you who don't know, and you look at the Newfoundland dictionary of English language, and basically the word fish in Newfoundland English means cod. Everything else is whatever it is. It's a cunner, or it's a trout, or it's a salmon. If you use the word fish in Newfoundland, it means cod. So that's how important cod is to the Newfoundland culture. So when the fish stock here collapsed about 30 some odd years ago, 34 years ago, it was a disaster for the Newfoundland economy. And we got our start pretty close to then. So we've been watching how fast the cod have been growing back and how many fish we have in our sites ever since then for 30 years. And I am very happy to say that there has been a limited recovery of Atlantic cod. It's now a fish that is deemed to be in the cautious zone. Now, we can take whatever that means, but basically it is something that we can have limited fishing on again, where there's a lot of very happy people in the province for that reason. So cod have done a partial recovery. They still have a ways to go, and we still have to be cautious around it, but the future looks a little bit more optimistic than it did 10, 15 years ago.
All right, that is good news. Bob, final question for you. There's a limited season that you can be in the field. So, during those winter months, what are you and the team doing? So
there's a limited season you can be in the field. So during the winter months, what do you and the field team do?
There's a saying in ecology that basically every day you spend in the field, you spend 10 days in the lab. So we will be going back and analyzing the data we collect from this year. And we first present that sort of information in March, when people are very interested to hear what we actually did this year and what happens. We give them reports through the year, but we actually only have the finalized version of our data probably in March. But that's what we spend most of the year, and then we're basically April. We're into setting up again for the next year, and our first sampling trip is actually in May, where we're actually looking at the survivors from this year. We'll look at in 2026 in May. So we're still pretty busy all the time, and yeah, that's the best I can say for it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I want to start off with a huge shout out to our classrooms. We had a great group tuning in today, sent in really great questions via the chat. So always great to have students along with us, especially when we're out in the field. And then to the whole team, Bob, Marina, Courtney, Brittany, thank you so much for taking us live out into the field and giving us a sneak peek at what you're doing to look at those fish populations.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Good luck with the rest of the field season.
Excellent.
See you. Bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you.